Got a question from someone on email about stop losses, specifically trading futures during the day. I'll address the futures and also the stock stuff that maybe lasts more than a day. If I'm really big in something, I always have a stop just to protect myself financially. Usually the way I get really big is by getting in, I would say, let's just use a scale. So 10 for you is your huge size and 1 is really small. I like to start around a 4 a lot of times on stuff. If I really like it, especially, I try not to get too big right away, because when I get too big right away, I almost always find a way to screw it up. It's crazy how much you freeze and you make mistakes when your size is too big. And oftentimes what happens is there's a shakeout or something, and I don't have a stop in for that 4 out of 10 size because I can kind of watch it, and I give it a little bit of room within reason, and I let it play a little bit. And when it starts to kind of maybe flush down and come back, or I feel like maybe it stopped everybody out and it starts to firm up, then I'll add more. I'll get up to like maybe a 6 or a 7. And when it starts to really go in my direction, then I'll get up to like a 9 or a 10 on my size when it pulls back and retests or something, when it starts to break out. And that's how I usually put on really big positions. So I'm definitely getting into something on the pullback, but not all of it usually. Sometimes maybe I get into all of it on the pullback if I really like something, but generally that's how I do it. I don't like to have, I think stops, when you put stops in, they're just basically going to get hit. So a lot of times if I really like an idea, I trade it a little smaller and let it breathe. And then that way there has to be a stop at some point. Like if I add, I always have a stop on my add. So if I'm at a size of a 4, let's say, and then I feel like it firms up and it starts to move, and I get into like a 6 or a 7 size position, I'll put a stop in right away to get me back down to a size 4 if it goes below that area. So sometimes I'll get stopped out a couple times on my ads, and that's okay. And then ultimately, if it takes out the full low, I'll get out of my original position. I'll take my loser. But just putting on a big position and putting a stop in almost never works for me. It just always stops me out. So trading futures during the day, exact same thing. I mean, if I feel like, let's just pick a size. Let's say you're a 10 lot trader in the S&P futures. You look at that and you really like something. If it's not a headline or something that you have to click on right away, which is kind of rare these days, but let's just say it's more of an area you like. I don't know, maybe I pick up 4 of them and I watch it run up and down a little bit. I generally think my area is okay. I can take some heat. And then it starts to kind of firm up, or maybe something else like the NASDAQ tries to go down and we can't go down, or whatever it is. There's some big stocks that are going down. They stop going down, whatever I'm watching. And then I start to maybe go into 6. I put 6 or 7 on, and then maybe it starts to go, and then all of a sudden it starts to flutter and get real quiet, and then I add the rest. And then I quickly get out of those if they don't work. Otherwise, I try to take the trade with a bigger position from that point. And I'll put a stop in from that point. So, it's not like I'm taking open-ended losers, but if I take a little bit bigger loser on small size to feel it out, it's not going to hurt me as much because I'm trading smaller. So I like to use size a lot. But if I have a big position overnight, I always will have a stop on something. I will. But that's kind of how I do it. It's a little bit of an art form. It's a feel thing. It's not an exact science. So I'm protecting myself, but maybe not the way it seems. Or maybe not the way that seems obvious. It's through size and feel. And then stop comes definitely when I get bigger, though. I have to make sure I have that. Overnight positions, a little dicier because you can have gaps and stuff like that, but usually that's not usually a huge problem unless you're taking a lot of risk into earnings and stuff, in which case you're taking that risk and that's a different situation. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Happy to talk more about stops.